Grace. I know you all know me, but I will introduce myself to you this evening. My name is Latoya Dawkins, and I will be your facilitator, professor, however you want to think of me tonight for this class. Let me share my screen. All right. We are talking about perfecting communication through presentations. So as you have known, we stated this proprietary statement that this information shared today is confidential and being shared with you as a part of being a scholar within the S.O.A.R organization. So we hope you utilize this information in your life and in your work and as you grow. All right, so I'll share a little bit about myself. I am a mom of two sweet, amazing young boys. I'm also a wife of Professor JR, as you know, of 15 years, believe it or not. We've been married this past June, 15 years. My sons are 6 and 9, first grade and fourth grade. So we're busy. The homework time is like on a whole nother level this year with first grade. So it's been interesting, an interesting switch from kindergarten. And then during my day-to-day, I am a senior program administrator supervisor, but in very short terms, I am a CQI supervisor, which means that I support our trainers at Rutgers University with Grow Your Kids Training Services with coaching. I also do QA and CQI reviews on our learning products and learning materials. And I also do participant survey data analytics. So I analyze data to filter into our CQI process. So CQI is continuous quality improvement. So I basically support our training services. We provide early childhood training to the workforce, early childhood workforce in the state of New Jersey. So that's teachers, teacher assistants, all who work within either the preschool school setting, so school districts, Head Start programs, childcare programs, family childcare providers. We also do some asynchronous training, so web-based, and that extends all the way out into the school age. So I've been with Rutgers for 3 years. Really love my job and enjoy it, and I work with some really great people, so I'm grateful for that. As you know, I am a board member with S.O.A.R. I am one of the directors of curriculum and instruction, and then I also co-direct for this series. I have a master's in curriculum and instruction, a bachelor's in early childhood education. I've been doing early childhood all of my life. I think the only time I maybe was outside of early childhood was when I had like different jobs in high school and college. So I've been in the early childhood sector for quite some time. I've been a teacher, I've directed multiple programs. And I think what I'm most proud of in my work is just supporting children and families. That's something that's very near and dear to my heart. Families are so important. And so I've worked in multiple different types of settings, very diverse settings. When I was a multi-site director, the school that I supported was 96% Spanish speaking. So I'm used to being in communities where people don't look like me, and then I'm used to being in communities where they do. So I'm grateful to have a lot of different diverse experiences. Um, and so I also do trainings. I facilitate a training called Strengthening Families, which again ties into my passion of supporting children and families. And then I also do a training called Connections Matter, which is really, again, about developing and sustaining powerful connections and relationships with the people that we support and the people that we love. And of course, that filters into children and families. I'm also a youth leader in my church. I do Sunday school. I'm on the praise and worship team alongside Miss Rosie and Miss Tiana, actually. That's a fun fact. And I love crafting. So I know oftentimes people talk about art. And I always say I'm not an artist, but I will craft. I don't believe I have an artistic bone in my body, which is kind of funny. My husband is the drawer, but I love to craft. I'm very creative, I would say that. I love to read. I love interior decorating, and I love word search puzzles. So just some fun facts about me. All right, so today we're going to be talking about how to apply appropriate communication skills across settings, purposes, and audiences. We're going to demonstrate effective use of technology and other platforms to present information. We're going to use proper body language and eye contact to convey a particular message. We're going to identify how to use language effectively to promote brands, products, and services, whatever your business is, or even yourself. I know that Kindle did the research project, so we're even going to talk about ways that you can um, enhance things about yourself so people know you a little bit better, ways to communicate so people understand who you are and what you offer better. So it'll be able to be applied to that as well. And then we're going to talk about how we articulate information in a concise and meaningful manner. So if I had to make a connection to things that you've already experienced in terms of your classes, I would connect it to obviously fundamentals, right? You did Pitch Perfect with Miss Kiana where you had those flavorless gum, bottomless cups, and those fun presentations you all had to do. I would say this class makes a connection to that one. And then I would also say it builds on the classes you previously took, right? So yesterday you had resume building, last week you had business writing with Miss C. So it's a nice correlation and build on those things. All right, so let's jump right in. I love the cameras are on. I love that you are engaged. I see some folks taking notes already. So what we're going to do is, as I talked about that correlation, I want to know if someone would be brave enough to share your elevator pitch. Yes, that's right. You just walked into an elevator with me. I am a mogul. I have tons of bank, right? Is that what you all say nowadays? I don't know how you guys express having a lot of money, but I have bank and I want to hear about your business. Who would be brave enough to come off mute and share your elevator pitch? This is advanced, so we're doing advanced things. Anyone?
I'll try. Are we just like pitching to you about like our business?
Yes.
Okay. Um. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Hi, my name is Excel, and this is my elevator pitch for my business. So I'm gonna run a nonprofit. Well, I want to run a nonprofit organization to help like homeless people and just like give them home and like a food. And I'm gonna like incorporate with other like nonprofit or like other profit, so I get donations and like people who are gonna help me out, just to help like people feel safe and have like a place to shower and just have like a place to sleep and feel safe.
Excellent. Thank you. There was a bit of a delay, so I apologize if we all were just quiet for longer than it sounded like, but excellent. Thank you. Anyone else want to be brave enough to do their pitch? Because this is literally what it will be like if
Can
you have
can
your
I?
business. Sure. Go ahead, Melena.
Okay, so my name is Milena, and this is my elevator pitch. So M&A Salon is the best place to be, whether you want to get pampered or you want a full makeover. Uh, our workers are determined to make you feel confident and make you walk out with a smile. Uh, M&A Salon uh is dedicated to make you feel confident in your own skin. Yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Thank you for being brave. Awesome. So, Catherine, I see your hand. Snigdha put in the chat she was going to go next. So then after Snigdha, we'll have you go, Catherine, okay? Thank you all for being brave. You guys are doing a great job.
Hi, my name is Snigdha, and I created Cozy Reads as which is basically a digital platform that gives everybody the same experience as reading a book. And because not ev unfortunately, some people have disabilities, So we wanted to create a unique format for enjoying reading and writing that everybody can enjoy, meaning that we'll have like different like immersion settings and so on. And basically it's just to create the same nostalgia that everyone wants to have so that everyone deserves a life filled with more imagination easier.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Catherine, you're up, and we'll end after Catherine if no one else volunteers.
All right. Let me tell you a little bit about my business prior for craft. This stationery business I really love to start. It's Classy Creations, and the main purpose of it would be to inspire and enable personal creations within individuals, because like in this, like like today in this modern world, there's such a blatant lack of handwritten communication, and the stationery the stationery that it would provide to people would not just be a tool but also like a canvas for individuals to express their creativity, like so providing high quality and beautifully designed products that will make like every person's creation have a little bit more of their own personal touch and like inspire them a little more.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You all did a fantastic on-the-spot job. So I appreciate everyone that participated and everyone who listened as well and took it all in. And so the reason why I had you all did do that was because I wanted to show the distinctness of communicating when you're pitching a business, right? So as I said, this connects to the class that we had in fundamentals, but I wanted to emphasize that we communicate all the time, right? We talk to our friends, we talk to families, we talk to colleagues, we talk to mentors, teachers, all these different people all the time. But there's something about the uniqueness of presenting your business or presenting yourself, right? Whether you're going to an interview or whether you're going to talk about your business, it's completely different. And so, my hope is that you begin to feel more comfortable with this form of communication, which is presenting. And so, the title of Perfecting Communication Through Presentations is not to get the connotation that, hey, by the time you leave this class, you're going to know perfectly how to make a perfect presentation. It's about perfecting. It's about always being in practice. And to always be in practice, you have to be prepped and ready to present and put yourself in positions where you talk to people and talk about your business. I think one of the places that I feel this sometimes when I travel for my job and I go to different conferences and people say, "What do you do?" And all of a sudden, I okay, what do I do it every day, 9 to 5 for the past 3 years, and that question still stumps me until this day. I know exactly what I do, but I'm thinking about how to present it in a way where they can understand it without all the abbreviations. Even as I'm talking to you all tonight, I'm saying CQI and SME and all these different things, right? Because I know what I'm talking about. But the purpose of perfecting communications through presentations is really about communicating on a level where people walk away with an understanding of what you're presenting on, what you're talking about. You appear confident, you appear aware, you appear thoughtful, you appear passionate about what you're talking about, your eye contact, your body language, all the wonderful things that we're going to be talking about today. So that was the purpose of that to get you more comfortable with this unique way of communicating. I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay, so communication is the act of sharing information from one person or group of people to another. All right, so why are communication skills important? So, of course, communication is an essential skill in the workplace because it's the starting point of your relationships. Communication is the starting point of all relationships. I don't know anyone that I'm in a relationship with that I don't speak to. So, a simple misunderstanding can be the reason you may miss a deadline at work or at school, or an important task or a project. So, it definitely is a high demand skill to have strong verbal and written communication skills. And it's always in high demand in any workplace. And I would say in any relationship. So a good communicator is easier to work with, more valuable to a team, less likely to drop the ball on big projects, and being able to participate with all forms of communication, whether verbal, written, nonverbal, visual, which is all that we're going to cover today. It is important to get the job done, advance in your career, take advantage of opportunities that are presented to you. All right, so let's talk about the different types of communications, which I just previously covered. So today we're going to be talking about verbal communication. We're going to be talking about having a strong, confident voice. And while we won't be diving into active listening, I believe even when someone is presenting, it's important to have good active listening skills. As you saw, even in fundamentals, you were all able to offer feedback. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, making sure I'm not missing. Okay, no problem, Michael. You were all able to give constructive feedback during the fundamentals class. So active listening is very important in the business world, right? You learn more about others and learn how to speak to other people's needs in terms of your business and what you have to offer. Then we're going to talk about avoiding filler words. We're going to talk about avoiding jargon or cliche statements, things of that sort. And then in terms of nonverbal, we're going to talk about how your body feels when you're speaking, different things that may come up. Maybe you've heard of the term somatics, or maybe you've heard of the term body awareness. It's very important when you're communicating that you're aware of what you're doing with your body. Sometimes your body can communicate something you don't necessarily mean, and I'll show you different examples of that. So you want to be intentional with your body language as well. We're going to touch on visual because in terms of business, we're going to look at how brands have tapped into this form of communication. And then we're also going to be looking at written. So as even Miss Rosie and Miss C talked about in the previous classes, we're striving for being concise, right? We're striving for getting to the point. We're thinking about the tone in which we say things. We're thinking about how effective our writing is, how persuasive, right, in terms of business writing we are as well. Any questions before I move forward? I don't want to feel like I'm going too fast. If I'm going too fast, or you want me to reiterate something, please let me know. Okay, and I am sharing my screen and I can see some of you, but if you have a question, feel free to use the raise hand feature and that'll move you to the top of my screen. All right, so these are some of the questions you can ask yourself when you're speaking. How do I sound? What does my body language say about me? Where am I looking? And can I read the room? And so I know that one of the hardest things to do is to listen back to myself in every context, whether talking or singing, it's all hard. And I think about my body language also, what I'm conveying through my body language. I think about my eye contact. Sometimes, even in church, I'm giving announcements, and I will say to myself in my head, "Where are your eyes right now? Am I looking down too much? Do I need to take a breath? Do I need to look up?" So these are all skills to questions to reflect on to continue to enhance your skills in communicating. And then can I read the room? That's really thinking about, am I engaging? Am I losing my audience? I know folks who are really great communicators, they know where to drop a joke in, they know where to take a breath, they know how to walk the room. I think that's a skill that I've presented a few times at a conference now. And I remember seeing this presenter and I was saying to myself, I really want to learn how to walk the room that way because walking the room also keeps people engaged as well. So we're in a virtual space. We won't dive too much into walking the room, but I'm sure you all seen TED Talks. They're walking that stage, they're using their hands. It's a really great thing to see. And we'll talk about different ways that we can even mimic others, great communicators. We can mimic them and make how they move our own, right? Because obviously we're not them, but we can make some of their movements our own and, you know, utilize those good skills. All right. So, what I'm going to have you do, which is one of the skills that help us become better communicators, I'm going to have you record yourself. So, I know you all have some sort of device as you're on one now. So, I'm going to have you take 1 minute. You're going to turn your camera off. You're going to record yourself talking about a special trip or activity you would like to do this holiday season. And then I'm going to have you watch the video back and just we'll reflect together and we'll talk about what you saw and just you'll do your own personal critiques. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to ask you to turn your cameras off, take 1 minute recording yourself talking about a special trip or activity you would like to take, and then look back at it and then we'll come back. So about 2 minutes. And tell me how that was for you. What came up as you were watching back your recording of yourself? Did you notice anything? Anything that you loved that you did? Anything that you were like, whoa, I never knew I did that when I talk? Anybody want to share?
I personally kept looking to the right because I was thinking.
Mm,
So I kept looking to the right and I was like, wait a second, I do that many times.
yeah. Ah, totally get that. Thanks for sharing, Snigdha. Go ahead, Catherine.
I kept using a lot of like, I think you guys call them filler words, right? Like, I kept saying, um, like I literally just did that just now actually. And like what's happening right now? Like literally like pausing in between words, hesitation, stuttering. That's something I notice a lot.
Thank
And
you.
wait, can I say one more thing?
Yes, of course.
So I remember like doing this right now, it's making me remember what one of my professors was actually saying just this like during school today, and he was talking about how when a student or like when someone is publicly speaking, like if like the one thing that he remembers is that like if you speak too like if you think you're speaking too fast, you're you're speaking too fast. If you think you're speaking too slow, you're speaking at just the right speed.
Hmm.
Can I ask if you like what you think that means?
You're asking me if I agree with what your professor said?
Yeah.
I would say yes. I would say I was actually recording a training today that I have to present on, and I definitely could tell when I was moving quick. And then when I told myself to slow down, it seemed like a good pace. So I would say yeah. In my experience, I would at least in my recent experience, I would say that is true. So thank you. Thank you for that. Go ahead, Aurora.
I was gonna say basically the same thing that they both kind of said combined. It was kind of, I guess, awkward to like try to maintain eye contact with the camera and then like talk at the same time. So like I'm like just looking at myself talking, and it made me kind of like want to look off of my computer. Like Cindy, sorry, I don't mean to. Snigda was saying, and yeah, it was like just awkward if that makes sense. Even though it was just me talking to myself.
Absolutely. Yes. I agree. I think it's a skill to get comfortable with, but I believe the more you all get comfortable with it, it'll be such a valuable practice as you present more to watch yourself. It'll make you more aware, more self-aware. Go ahead, Melina.
So one thing I noticed was that I I stuttered a lot, and I was saying like and like I was just like I got stuck in one word, like how can like or like basically filler words or something. And I just like kept looking to the right or like up front, like up, so for the camera. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Milena. Go ahead, Michael.
I agree with everybody. The eye contact's hard. Um, and I think for me, it was just like coming up with new points or coming up with new like supporting like details where it's like where would you want to go and like kind of like the why. And so not kind of repeating yourself too much is important.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Being clear, concise. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for those reflective thoughts. I appreciate you all sharing and being brave to critique yourself, which is a skill within itself. All right. So for verbal communication, you want to ensure that you have a strong, confident voice. You want to sound like you believe in what you're saying so other people can believe in what you're saying, especially when you're talking about your business, right? You want people to have buy-in. You also want to use active listening. I know I shared that we won't dive too much into this because we are focusing on presentation specifically, but I do believe in the sense of business, active listening is so important. I have learned active listening, especially if someone else is presenting or I'm in a meeting, is usually one of the ways that I can pick up on where maybe my skills could be valuable to add to the conversation, or I can pick up on where maybe there's a need, something we're missing in terms of business. So active listening is so important. And I think we live in a world where in the virtual space right now, active listening is really tough because there's so many distractions. But I believe it's one of the most valuable soft skills you can have, especially in business, but even more importantly, in any relationship that you're engaged in. And then we have avoid filler words. So a lot of you expressed some filler words that came up as you were recording yourself. These can be those likes, so's, and any word basically that's not adding to what you're talking about can be considered a filler word. So to be mindful of that, it's really tough to avoid filler words. It definitely is a practice. I'm sure you will hear me say some filler words even in this class today. One of the things that I've noticed is when I feel like I'm going to say a filler word, I've tried to take a breath. So I would say if that works for you, definitely continue to make that practice. I noticed that it has been helpful for me when I've presented to others. All right, so we're going to watch a short video on nonverbal communication.
Did you ever hear anyone tell you that 90% of communication is nonverbal? Now, as a broadcaster, you will be communicating verbally most of the time, but once you are on TV or on camera, you will have to rely on your body language or your facial expressions to deliver the emotion of your message. If you're delivering a serious story, you probably don't want to be smiling, would you? If you're delivering a happy story, you probably won't want to be too serious either. There are all sorts of ways to practice this, but looking in a mirror can be a big help. Can you raise one eyebrow? It's still one skill I have to work on myself. But by changing your facial expression, you can set the tone for your story without ever saying a word. Another habit you should try to break is not to move your shoulders when you talk or report on camera. Now, you can allow your head to move naturally, as if you are talking to your best friend. If you want to make sure your audience gets your message, don't be afraid to lean forward and look right down the center of that camera lens. Remember, eye contact is how you maintain your connection to your audience. Send me some examples of your happy face, sad face, confused, amazed, befuddled, excited, surprised. And if you are delivering a negative message like there's no school today, you can always shake your head. There's no school today. Or when it's positive, subtle nods work well too. These are just a few tricks to the trade that can help you become a better communicator on camera and in real life. Good luck.
All right, so this slide pretty much reiterates everything that was talked about and also touches on some additional things. So, the reason why I like that video, even though it's specifically talking to someone who may be in the news field or broadcaster, is because I feel like it relates to the virtual setting, looking down the camera. And oftentimes, our body language in a virtual space, if we're, a lot of times it's our hands, right? It's anything you can see from the shoulders up. And so we're now living in a time where maybe when I was growing up, presentations were done in person, but now you are living in a time where you could be doing an international presentation, right? Over Zoom, over a platform or something like this. And so even being aware of your body language in the virtual space is so important, right? I don't like to see half of you or a ceiling or things of that sort, right? So we want to be mindful of how our body language is being presented even in the virtual space. So one of the things that I always talk about in this class is when I'm in a meeting, I'm in a lot of Zoom meetings in my job at my job, Zoom, Teams, all the things. And so I notice that sometimes I can get a bit of like fatigue, right? And so it'll show up in my body language. So I wanted to ask you all if you can see me, what does me sitting like this convey? What is this saying to you? What does this body language of me sitting like this say to you?
That you're bored.
Okay, anyone else?
That you're active. Not, how will I put this? Like if you were called on to speak, you would know what to say. Like you're paying attention, like focus
Mm,
wise.
okay, attentive. Okay, thank you. Focused. I love it.
That
Now,
you're a
what
little
about,
distra- oh,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. That you're a little bit distracted, in my opinion, because you're looking down.
Okay. It's interesting because I'm actually looking right at you. So it's interesting that you see me looking down. Yeah, so we don't know. We don't know what things are being communicated. Now, if I sat back, I didn't have anything on my face, right? I didn't have a hand on my face. It could be a completely different message. If I'm like this, right? Now I'm communicating something completely different. So just the switch of my hand from like having a hand underneath to not having a hand at all to being completely slumped over, it is all sending different messages and none of which I may mean. Maybe I'm not feeling well, right? So I'm leaning my head over because I'm not feeling well. My head hurts. I have a headache or I feel dehydrated, right? But someone in a meeting with me is saying, wow, Latoya is really not interested in what I'm talking about, right? So being aware of your body language. I think also this first point about noticing how your emotions feel physically. So just know that if you're feeling nervous, if you know, your temperatures are rising because you're nervous, or you're sometimes that'll turn into sweating, your heart's beating fast, or I know sometimes when I'm talking, I may squeeze my hands or something like that. That's all coming up because of how I'm feeling. My emotions are showing up in my body physically. And so as you become more aware of that, as you become, continue to do those practices in your camera, or, recording yourself or in a mirror, you'll start to notice different things that come up in your body. So being intentional about your nonverbal communication is really so important. And so having a plan, I know people who speak and do presentations. Like I said, the lady that I saw when I went to this last conference, she walked that room and I was like, did she plan this? Does she know? And it just really kept you engaged because you were always trying to figure out where her voice was. And so mapping out your body language can be really important as well. And then earlier we talked about mimicking nonverbal communications that you find effective. So I would say watch other great communicators, see what they do. I remember watching Obama when he was president. He was considered to be one of the great orators of a president that ever lived. And I remember watching him, how he would like look around the room, how he would pause, how he would squint his eyes, how he would even step forward with his foot, how he would lean in when he would be talking. I mean, there's just so many different ways that im impact how we communicate that just has nothing to do with what we're actually saying. And I think that's really important. I remember Maya Angelou, there's a quote by her, and you probably have heard it before, that people won't remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. So even I consider we talked about verbal communication, but I feel like there's a nice pairedness even with verbal communication and nonverbal communication. When I even think about like the inflection of my voice, right? If I slow down and I talk a little bit differently, you're going to pick up on that, right? If I talk with a lot of passion and I'm emphasizing my words, you're going to pick up on that, right? So there's this nice pairing of it's not just what we're saying, it's how we're saying it, and it's how we're presenting ourselves in terms of our body language. All right. So I mentioned earlier we were going to touch on visual communication. And so in front of you, you have different brands that emphasize their mission statements that also shine through their brands, their logos. And so I wanted to kind of briefly look at these. And maybe as you begin to think about your business or anything that may be interested in doing with your logo or something like that, making that connection to your logo, what it looks like, and your visual communication, right? What does it say? Your mission statement, how does it connect to your visual communication? So the first one we can see on the screen is Apple. So to challenge the status quo, to think differently, right? How do you think that symbol of that black bitten apple connects with to challenge the status quo, to think differently? What's the connection there?
I feel like because like nobody would really think an Apple would be a like definitive for like a technology program.
Mm, I like that. Yeah, definitely. That's thinking differently.
I think it's because like nobody would like, especially if it's like a bitten apple, right? Nobody would pay attention to it. Nobody would even think about like eating it, right? Because somebody else ate it. So why would you eat somebody else's food? So, but we don't know how special that apple could be, like how good it might taste. So that's challenging like social expectations of a certain technology or a certain idea, and they're stepping forward. Basically, what Aurora was trying to say.
Okay. Excellent. All right, let's move on to, let's see, what's a good one? What about Tesla? What is that visual communication saying there for Tesla?
I think it's saying, um, it's being distinct while also like it somehow gives like someone that would view it the implication that like, hey, this is something that is not very old fashioned. We're not a company that's going to give you something that you'd usually expect, or
Mm,
more so something that we're going to give you something that you haven't seen before.
nice. Very nice. Thank you. Go ahead, Kendall.
Yeah, basically like what she said, it's like very modern, especially like the E and how it's just three lines. It definitely
Mm-hmm.
gives off like yeah, just modern and like innovative and new and futuristic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love the word innovative. Absolutely. Yeah, and it says to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, right? So definitely like an innovative way to look at energy. Let's do one more. Let's do Google. So it says to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. How does their logo connect with that mission statement?
I'm noticing the colors particularly because most of them are prime colors like blue, red, and yellow, but the L is only green. So I'm like taking it as we should be accessible to all like I just lost the word, all like categories of people. That
Yeah,
sounds good. But there are some people who might find it harder to get certain accesses. So the green kind of represents that more like push towards everybody able to access everything.
absolutely. Awesome. I love that. I love that explanation of the, and it's interesting you notice that that uniqueness of the green L. Go ahead, Catherine.
I also was going to mention the primary colors, but I thought of something different.
Hmm.
Um, the primary colors are something that, oh, actually, the thought I had is something quite similar, but I didn't really acknowledge the L before until Snigda, uh, acknowledged it. But basically, primary colors are the most common colors, and they are very easily accessible to basically anyone. And like they're the foundations for any other color that you can possibly attain. So I would
Mm,
like if someone were to observe the logo, I would believe that they would take a look at the primary colors and say how is green created? It would
hmm.
be you would use the primary colors to create green, like through some sort of mixture. Um, and possibly if someone were to observe it and somehow come to a conclusion of what this company could provide them, they would likely come to a conclusion that it will provide you with something that is easily accessible to you personally.
Mm. I like that. So there's a uniqueness to that accessibility. Awesome. Thank you. You all did such a nice reflections and thoughts on the connection. And so I want you to think about right now if someone were to come and ask you, so I ask you, some of you, you did your pitches on the spot, but think about your mission statement, right? Just take a second, think about your mission statement. Maybe you want to bring it up and look at it in front of you. But could you create a logo from your mission statement? Yes, Snigdha saying yes. What would your logo look like, Snigdha?
I've actually been thinking about it, so I kind of have an idea because I want people to be comfortable, right? Like with any sorts of type of people. So I was
Hmm.
gonna probably put like a teddy bear, like smiling or something like that, with like hearing aids and a book with like the word cozy reads on it, and like maybe a computer that has like some type of immersion setting or some type of video play or something like that, just to kind of show what our the digital platform is pushing at.
Very nice. Catherine?
Sorry. Um, I was also thinking about mine. And my mission statement was basically providing high quality and beautifully designed products. So I would think more so like if I were to create a logo, it would definitely be the words classy creations in like a font that's like not New Roman, but more so like something with cursive to set the tone to a viewer that gives the implication that this is likely a high quality brand,
Mm,
and it would probably be alongside a quill, like like a quill writing out classy creations. That's what I would think it would be
mm,
because it would set the tone for stationery and writing and classy creations, which someone could infer possibly what the company would be about.
I like it. Very nice, Milena.
So I was thinking like kind of like hers, like a cursive. because I wanted to think that this is like a luxury salon. So like a fancy salon, and that modest look. And at the end of the like script, I want it to be like a little like face or like like a beauty, and so like you could tell that it's a salon just by the name. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you all for sharing that. I'm curious about Michael, you having a food business, because I know we have the stationery, the cozy reads, the salon. What are you thinking about your logo? How would you connect your mission statement the way it's written now to a possible logo? Or maybe you already have a logo.
I was thinking, I was thinking focusing on empanadas, following the curve, um, with it and having my name like Doritos follow the curve. Um, Maybe that could be like a good logo. And
Yeah.
just like yeah, maybe even like a world behind it. It could help and having it accessible to everybody.
Okay. You said a well behind it?
Oh, world.
Oh, a world.
Yeah.
Okay, a world. Okay, showing it being accessible. And I know that we have some board members on the call. I don't know if they want to jump in, but I know even with food brands, like colors are really important, right? So what's a color you see a lot of food brands? Let's see if you notice this. What's a color you see a lot of food brands use?
Red.
Red. Yeah, that's one. I'm looking for one more.
Green.
Green? Give me an example of a green one. I'm sure there is. I just can't think of one, but give me an example.
Like Applebee's and Chili's, they use green, but it's more for the subtle details in their marketing.
Mm. Okay. I'm thinking of like good catch, Catherine. I appreciate you sharing the green. Yellow, yes. Layla, yes, that's what I was thinking. Yellow. McDonald's, I think somewhere, Burger King, Subways. Even Subways has the green, now that I think about it, Catherine. In a subtle way, it's like the secondary color. Maybe that's why Google threw that one green L in there. Go ahead, Layla.
So okay, so like interesting fact, in like programming stuff, when they make the brands colors and stuff like that, they take they take red, blue, and green and they use it and they like kind of manipulate it so that it's higher in like one color just to make the different colors. So like you just look like you just said, yellow, it's kind of just a manipulation of yellow. So they'll like a lot of the like Burger King, like you just mentioned, it kind of looks a little orange, stuff like that. But I feel as though it's more like a manipulation of yellow, if that makes sense.
Mm. Okay, a manipulation of yellow. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to invoke hunger, right? There's all these psychological aspects because, again, thinking about what I mentioned about the Maya Angelou quote, they don't just want you to look and be like, oh, yeah, there goes McDonald's. They want your body. They want you to feel that hunger in your body. So yeah, it's a really great way to kind of hone in on that uh, the physical response to that visual communication. So, absolutely. I mean, these brands are spending a lot of money, right, on their logo. So they want to make sure it's drawing you in, their consumer in. So thank you all for engaging in me in that conversation. So brand language. So brand language is the body of words, phrases, and terms that a company or organization uses to describe its purpose or reference its products, right? So, case in point, we have SOAR, right? Success over and above reality, right? And our logo has a world and an airplane, right? So, we're soaring, right? So, there's that brand language and that connection. And so, there's some examples on your screen. One of the ones that really stick out to me is unusual, right? So Starbucks, right? Can you go to Starbucks and say, give me a small? No, I see some head shaking. No, what do you have to say if you want their smallest size at Starbucks if you drink coffee?
I think it's
which,
a venti.
well, that's their biggest one. Their smallest one is a tall.
Oh,
Yeah. But that is a size. That is so like to your point, you can't go to Starbucks and say give me a large. You have to say give me a venti, right? So that's unusual brand language. What about connectable, right? We just talked about McDonald's. So they have Mick everything. When I was growing up, I mean, every Mick something was coming out every week. Mick chicken, Mick rib, and I don't even know what they have now. Apple, right? Everything has an I. So it's interesting, right? There's so many different things that you can do with your brand language. So maybe Snigda, maybe you have cozy bookmarks, right? Maybe you have cozy socks to go with your cozy reads. I mean, there's so many different things you could do with cozy, right? It's such a nice way to make a connection to your brand. If everything you offered start with a cozy, right? Um, Anyone else feel like they can do that with their brand? Uh, Catherine, I know I'm sure you got some ideas with your classy brand you got going on. Any thoughts you have about different ways you can make some connections to other things?
Can you elaborate on that? I'm sorry. I just
Sure,
want to be.
sure, no problem. So I was saying like for Apple products start with an I, right? So iPad, iPod, iPhone, right? So that's called connectable language. So I was saying, are there different ways? So then I gave the example of like Snigda with cozy reads. So she can say cozy bookmarks, cozy socks, cozy pens, right? Cozies in general. So I was saying, do you feel like there's something you could do with your brand, with the classy aspect of your brand? Like, can you see a connectable language happening there?
Yeah, I could say like a line of boutique like boutique pens and notebooks or just a stationery kit and like it could be called classy pens, classy notebooks, classy quills. Oh my.
Yeah, sky's the limit, right? When you think about brand language. And then there's other quotes, right? Be all that you can be. There's certain phrases. What about if I say to you an open phrase, right? Like a good neighbor, what are y'all gonna say to me?
Dave Farm is here.
State Farm is there, right? So that sticks, right? That's the power of brand language. You already know it. I was saying something to my son the other day. My son is 9, and we were talking about Skittles, and I said to him, like in a quiet voice, I go, "Taste the rainbow." Like he had no idea what I was talking about. He was like, "Okay, why are you telling me to taste the rainbow? I'm eating Skittles, right?" When I was growing up, there was so many jingles and there were so many commercials on TV. We're living at a time now where there's live streaming and all these different things. So my son doesn't really see a lot of commercials. So he had no idea what I was talking about when I said taste the rainbow. But that's to go to show you how powerful brand language can be. So State Farm is there. Mayhem, right? The Mayhem commercials. That's, you know, encouraging you to buy insurance. I mean, there's so many different ways that brand language can be built upon. So, I think now is a good time before we jump into how to start your presentation. We are going to take our 10-minute break. So I'll see you all back here at 7:41. Enjoy. All right. Welcome back, everyone. So as you are coming back and turning your cameras back on, I am going to share my screen. And we're just going to watch a quick video on how to start a presentation.
It always strikes me how people think about their presentations or how they prepare their presentations. And I'm actually talking about the first words, the first sentences of a presentation. What most people do is they think of a presentation, so automatically you think about a PowerPoint. So you make your slides. You look at your slides and you think about what will I say showing each slide. But my question to you is this: what are your first words? What are the first sentences? Very few people think about that. Just think a minute about the presentations that you have already seen in the past, maybe the presentations that you have done yourself. There is a cliché sentence that most speakers use to introduce their topic. They say something like, good morning, good afternoon, my name is, if they don't know you. And then there is this typical sentence, today I'm going to talk to you about. Now you might say, so what's the problem? The problem with this sentence is that you're actually answering the wrong question. You're answering the what question. What are you going to do? I'm going to talk about. If you think about it, most audiences know what you're going to talk about. Either you are introduced, or there is a program, or there is a meeting, so there is an agenda, so people know what your topic is all about. The most interesting question to answer is the why question. Why are you there to talk about this topic? And even more important, why is it important for the audience to listen to you? So my advice for you is to focus on the why question. Now, how can you do that? I advise people to focus on a story to begin their presentation. Now, if you think about stories, stories begin with a time frame. Just look at fairy tales. They start with once upon a time. I'm not going to suggest that you start your professional presentation with once upon a time, but you can start with a time frame, something like yesterday, 2 weeks ago, last year, 3 months ago. Now, what's the kind of story that you can share then? Use real stories. It has to be something that happened to you. It has to be something that you heard. So you can refer to a conversation you had with a colleague. You can say something like, yesterday I had a conversation with, but then there has to be a reason why you refer to that conversation. And there is this linking sentence that I use in lots of presentations. I tell my story, and then I continue saying, now why do I tell you this? Because my objective or my goal with this presentation is to. So what you can do is be very conscious of the company stories, I might say. It can be something that happened with a customer. It can be an article you read. It can be something that you heard about. It can be a conversation you had. So use these stories to begin your presentation, link them to your goal, and it will be so much more interesting for your audience because it will be crystal clear for them from the very first minute why it is important to them. So next time you prepare your presentation, focus on that why question and tell them a story.
Okay. So that was a nice segue back into perfecting communications through presentations, because we're going to be diving in now to getting you all prepared for your presentations next Tuesday. And so your presentations are a build on your elevator pitch. And so the difference with a presentation is exactly what she's talking about in terms of in an elevator pitch, right? You may be walking into a room or an elevator, so to speak, with someone who may not know you, right? So formal introductions and kind of like, hi, my name is, and kind of diving into your business would be still right for that type of presentation, that type of pitch. But when we think about presentations, it can be a bit different. You do have to be mindful of your audience. Now, just like she said, it's not horrible to say, hello, my name is. But how are you going to draw your audience in? How are you really going to captivate their attention? How are you really going to get them to, we talked about earlier, right? That emotion, right? Connecting and appealing to their emotion, right? If you have an audience who may not fully understand your business, your story, right? Excel has a business that's going to be helping people find homes, right? There's a strong emotional insight there, right? So you want people to really feel that. And so by being able to start with a story, like she said, yesterday, 3 months ago, last week, focusing on your why, and then telling them why you're sharing this. Now, why am I telling you this? So you can incorporate your name, right? So you can say, did you know that tons of homeless people have nowhere to go each and every day? Shelters are filled to the brim and they literally have nowhere to go, right? Hi, my name is Excel, right? So you can start off that way, but you want to start thinking of creative ways when you're presenting of how you can do this. And we'll dive into a little bit later about how to make that connection between your slides and what you're talking about. But just to kind of think about what you're going to say, it's very important to start to think about your story. I know some of you did have hints of this in the fundamentals class. You did share a little bit of your story, but now you want to start to think about the inflection in your voice, your body language, your tone. How are you really captivating your audience and sharing your business? All right. So then when we start thinking about your ending, right? So getting rid of cliche endings. So we typically say the safest way is to say thank you, right? That's pretty safe. You don't know what else to say. Maybe you're not prepped. You're doing this presentation on the spot, your mind is filled, right? You can always say thank you. It would be more impactful to have something for people to take away with. We talked about in the fundamentals a call to action, right? So what are they going to do next? Put it back on your audience. Now they need to have a way to engage with you, right? Um, so, I think about a Shark Tank, of course, right? They end those. So, sharks, do you want to come on this ride with me, right? They're asking for investments, right? So, there's creative ways to do that. But you want to make sure it has impact. It's not just, cliche, but it's really having people kind of buy in to what you want them to do. So you don't want to just say thank you. You want to make sure that even before or after you say thank you, that there's a call to action. You don't wanna say, "That's all I have." You don't wanna say, "Any questions?" Especially if there's no memorable takeaway, right? You always wanna have people, have something to remember you by, right? So you want to start with a strong story and start with a strong opening, really draw people in, and then end with a strong ending. I remember I watched this really emotional video on early childhood with a couple of my colleagues who were not as familiar with the early childhood field, and they were in tears. And it was just, really impactful. And at the end of the video, the young boy in the video goes, um, "So anyone interested in investing?" And that's really what he was trying to get to. But it was such an emotional video about the different things that young children go through and in the field of early childhood. So really just thinking about the impact. You definitely don't want to apologize, right? Sorry for going over time, because that's going to be what people remember. People really do remember the last thing you say. Um, so those are just some tips to kind of think about how you want to open your presentation, how you want to end your presentation. And we're going to see a great example of that a little bit later today. All right, so these points are some of the things that she talked about in her video, but just wanted to reiterate, what does your audience already know? So it's really impactful to kind of know your audience already. What new information can you teach them, right? So if we're talking about candy, your audience already knows that candy is sweet. Your audience already knows that, I don't know, candy makes I don't know, there's candy on Halloween or something like that, right? So you don't want to kind of focus on things they already know. You want to focus on new information, something they don't know, something that maybe data or numbers. We talked about that in fundamentals, right? What's something impactful that they can learn from your presentation? What are they expecting from your presentation? You want to make sure that you meet your audience's expectations so they don't walk away with like, well, what was the name of your business? So you want to make sure that that's being answered. What is the purpose of your business? What's going to interest them and what will keep them focused and engaged? So like I said earlier, there is a time for humor, there's a time for different things like that. So you want to just be aware of your audience. And even in the body language video, the nonverbal communication video, they were talking about, if it's something serious, you probably don't want to smile. If it's something happy, you probably don't want to look like you don't want to be there, right? So just being aware of that as well. All right. So for making world-class business presentations, so this slide has a lot of information, but I still find it to be one of the greatest infographics just to kind of think about connecting your presentation, what you're saying, what you're talking about, your business, to now a slide deck, right? So again, know your audience, understand, connect with them. You want to tell a story, of course, connect. It's also better than hard data, but I think once you appeal to them emotionally, the data obviously can just impact your passion and your point. You want to convey one idea per slide. So you don't want to have your slide overloaded with too much information. You don't want to confuse your audience. If we were in person, I wouldn't have this on a slide. I would have given this to you in person. But for the purposes of this class, it was just easier. But you definitely don't want to maybe have a slide like this. Um, Use visuals. So people are hardwired to remember visuals better. So even when we talked about visual communication, right? What is your logo? Do you have a logo? Maybe you want to incorporate that into your presentation. How does that connect to your mission statement, right? So you want to remove visual clutter. So you want to make sure your slides don't have too much clutter. Things are not too close together. If you're adding images and words, keep it simple. So you want to be concise. You don't want to have jargon or information on there that you don't need. Learn from presenters. So as we talked about earlier, you want to mimic great orators or great presenters. You want to practice without your slide. So if for some reason your slide deck is not working, you lose your slide deck, you want to be able to not have to cancel your presentation because you don't have your slide deck. You still want to be able to emphasize your points because really a slide deck is there to supplement what you're saying. And so it should be where you can't perform your presentation without your slides. You don't want your slides to have crucial information. The crucial information should be coming out of your mouth and should be in your speaker notes. And then if you have any questions, you want to anticipate questions. If that's the type of presentation you're giving, sometimes you're not always giving a presentation that has space for questions, but you want to anticipate those. And then again, you want to have a clear call to action, right? How are folks going to reach you after your presentation? So I know we dived into that even in the fundamentals. So that's definitely a key point to remember. All right, so then when we talk about different platforms you can use, so there's PowerPoint. They even have a live version now. There's Mentimeter, there's Kahoots, which Ms. Rosie did yesterday. We do Mentimeter for even our assessment. We'll be taking our assessment today after the class. And then there's different platforms, right? So we live in a time, like I said earlier, where you may be presenting virtually. So you want to be sure you're familiar with the platforms you're going to be using because they're slightly different, but fortunately we live in a time where a lot of the skills you learn sharing your screen can be transferred over. So the expectation for your presentation on Tuesday will be that you're sharing your screen. Right? So you definitely want to make sure you know how to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you're aware. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be watching a really great video. It is, as I shared, I am in the early childhood field, so it is early childhood related. But it's a really impactful video, and I'll pause it in between so we can kind of talk a little bit about it. So yeah, I'm excited for y'all to see it. Make sure I'm just sharing my sound.
What if I was to tell you that a game of peekaboo could change the world? Sounds impossible, right? Well, I'm here today to prove prove it's not. Hi, I'm Molly, and I'm 7, and this is my little friend Ari. Say hi, Ari. Hi. Oh, and this is my neighbor, Amajot. He has to take Ari away now to get ready for our experiment. But don't worry, they'll be back. My talk today is about some powerful things you grown-ups can do that shape us as children and the adults we become. How do I know? Because my parents and people around me did them, early and often. I know not all kids are as lucky. Some of
All right, so I paused the video there because I wanted to ask, what did you notice about Molly's opening?
Molly, she introduced herself like properly. Well, not properly, but wait, let me restart with that. Let me reiterate. She didn't introduce her identity to the audience until after she made her introduction. So she separated her introduction to like her purpose, her why, before she introduced herself personally.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone want to add?
I noticed the introduction itself. She brought a baby on stage. Who doesn't love babies? Like, that's obvious. So like when like you even heard there was like, "Aw," because everybody, because now she's gonna be remembered as the girl who brought a baby, and then everything else will go along.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's jump back in.
my friends, some kids at my school, friends, many around. Some kids at my school, many kids at my school, many around the world. Kids at my school, many around the world.
Is it repeating for you all?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just see why that's happening. You have to rewind it back a little bit.
How do I know? How do I know? Because my parents and people around me did them. Early, and often. I know not all kids are as lucky. Some of my friends, some kids at my school, and many around the world. And I would really like to help change that. Thanks to scientists, we now know just how important the first 5 years are for our health and development, especially our brains. Ari started learning long before he was even born, from inside his mummy's tummy. When Ari was born, he was tiny, and he cried all the time. He was always hungry, and he pooped a lot. Now, he laughs and giggles and makes funny noises. But those are just the changes we hear and see. There's way more going on inside. So, let's talk more about our brains. The blue bag is the rough size and weight of a healthy baby's brain at birth. The red one is a baby's brain after the first year. It almost doubles in volume. And by my age, it's almost 90% the volume of an adult brain. Our brains develop faster in our early years than at any other time in our lives. It can create up to 1 million neural connections every second. But we need your help. Our healthy development depends on these top 5 things. 1, connecting. 2, talking. 3, playing. 4, a healthy home. 5, community. All of this helps our brains and us reach our full potential. So what's something you can do that can really make a difference? Scientists call it serve and return. That's just a grown-up way of saying connect, talk, and play with us. And here's the really big news. Amajot, Ari, you ready?
Ready?
Copycat games build imagination and empathy.
And
Naming games build vocabulary and attention.
is it Daddy? Ari, Daddy, Ari.
And games like Peekaboo, yep, Peekaboo, actually build memory and trust. Each time you talk to us, play with us, make us laugh, it not only builds and strengthens our relationships and mental health, it actually teaches us some of the most important life skills.
All right, so I wanted to pause it there. What have you noticed about, I want to hear your thoughts about her tone, the way that she's speaking. And I also want to hear your thoughts about her presentation, what she's put on the screen so far.
Something I liked that she used during her presentation, she, um, when she was referring to what she wanted others to provide, like what she wanted, like the people to do, like calling them, like, or more so suggesting an urgency or a need and why, she referred to the children like her, people like kids like her, like, or the ones that she wanted to provide this for, she referred to them as we. So she made it more widespread, and so the audience could somehow apply this to their personal lives.
Excellent. Anyone else want to add to that?
The presentation on like the visuals, basically, it reminds me of like childhood like toys, like teddy bears and all of that. It's very childlike. It's something like um a child would like. So that definitely like goes along with her theme about what she was saying about how they can thrive by five. And there's a lot of just one words. There isn't like
Mm,
sentences that was
mm-hmm.
showing that like she knows what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm interested, has anyone I wanted to choose this video too because I know sometimes early childhood is not, kind of a topic that's pretty much dived into, but did anyone learn anything new so far in her presentation? Because I think that's helpful, like that she had an awareness of our audience. Anyone learn anything new so far about early childhood that they didn't know before?
At about 5 years old, the brain's about like 90% developed.
Yes, that is something that actually early childhood educators have been referred to now as brain architects because these are the teachers that are with children before 5. And so if we're, a part of the uh, process of helping children and shaping their brains, that is so impactful. And so, of course, when someone in the government or you're using now scientific data about how the brain grows, right? You can't even dispute how important early childhood education is for young children because we're literally saying science is showing our brains are the size that they're supposed to be 90% of an adult sized brain by the time a child is 5, right? So, yes, that's probably the most impactful information about the importance of early childhood. All right, so let's keep going.
Making
Hopefully.
friends, to taking a test, to getting a job, to one day maybe even starting a family of our own. Interactions early and often matter. Take it from me, the 7-year-old up here, talking about brain science. Okay, now, let's see what happens when the connection is taken away. So now he's trying to get his dad's attention again. He's reaching out like, that was fun, why have you stopped? I know it's important for adults to use their devices sometimes, but kids are hardwired to seek out meaningful connections. Not receiving them causes confusion and stress. Okay, Amajot, please re-engage. Now, what if a whole childhood was like that last 30 seconds? How hard it would be for a child to feel calm, to feel safe, to learn to trust anyone, and the lifelong impact that would have. That makes me feel sad. Ari only reacted the way he did and recovered so quickly because the connection between him and his dad is usually so strong. The positive relationships with the grown-ups in our lives gives kids the confidence we need to try new things, to explore, and be a kid. So please try and remember, the most special period for our development is the first 5 years, starting from inside Mummy's tummy. What's something really impactful you can do? Serve and return. And when? Early and often. Please give it up for Amachot and Ari. Every moment together is an opportunity to connect, talk, and play. Imagine the difference we could make if everyone everywhere did this. To us, to children, it's so much more than just a game. It's our future. Thank you. See? Peekaboo really can change the world.
All right. So, what did you notice about the ending?
She ends with the same thing. Like she ends with the same point that she wanted. That like somehow she somehow implied at the beginning with her introduction.
Yeah, yeah, she kind of wrapped up, kind of summarized what she was talking about. Anyone else notice anything maybe about her presentation, her tone, the way she emphasized certain things?
It was more like happy and joyful in the beginning because you could tell that she was passionate about it even at such a young age, and the jokes definitely helped in between. And but like when it got to the sad part, she was also changing her tone according to what she was saying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. She paused, she looked around, right? She engaged. So, and she's 7. And I'm like, okay, Molly, I'm taking notes. So it's one of my favorite videos, and it really, really emphasizes a lot of what we talked about today about, even her use of the slides, right? I mean, even right, early and often, just quick things you can remember the first 5 years, like Michael said, right? Something that you just walk away with, and so thank you all for engaging with that with me. All right. So the 7 top skills to improve your presentation. So you want to record yourself, learn to manage your emotions, improve your nonverbal communication, and that soft skill development, right? So empathy, being aware of um, folks in the room, being able to read the room, eye contact, adaptability, mindfulness, all of these soft skills can help you improve your presentation skills. And not just for business, but just in the way that you talk and communicate, right? We talked about even Kendall with her mock interview, right? So we're going to be looking at how Kendall presents herself, how she inflects her voice, her tone, how she slows down when she's emphasizing certain points, right? So these are things, how she gives eye contact. These are things that we're going to pick up even in that. So, be receptive to feedback, if people have questions during your presentation or constructive feedback, obviously. And then you want to make sure that you're communicating clearly and regularly. So both verbal and written communication, you want to make sure that's aligned with your audience. There's no, complex subjects. You want to make sure everything is clear and concise. All right. So in the chat box, can you put in the chat box for me which of these numbers you feel like you want to practice more? Which one of these skills you want to practice a little bit more? All right, I see nonverbal communication. Okay, number 2, manage your emotions. Number 6, okay, clearly, regularly, yes. Lots of practice, right? Soft skill development, absolutely. Anyone else? Number 2, managing emotions. Awesome. All right. Well, I have news for you. So now you're going to be able to practice. So what I'm going to do, I am going to drop in the chat a presentation. I'm going to break you up into 2 breakout rooms. Let me just get the presentation. So I'm going to be sharing in the chat. Oh, it actually came in as a zip file. Let me make sure that this works. That's probably not going to work. All right. Well, as I'm getting it, I would like for you to prepare in your breakout room. You're going to choose one speaker. So, you have confidence in this person speaking. You can decide as a group, whoever you feel would be best to do that. And I want you to prepare a presentation on this topic, how to improve your morning routine. So there are slides already in there. So preferably you have someone who can share their screen. So think about everything we talked about today. You want to have a good opening. You want to have a good why. You want to have, may I have to share a link with you all because it wasn't downloading. You want to tell your story. You want to have a strong opening. You want to have a strong closing. So I have that link there. If you can share your screen, that's fine. If you can't share your screen, I can share my screen. And then you just have to tell me when to progress through the slides. But I want you to take about 5 minutes in the breakout room to prepare this with your group. And then, like I said, choose one person to present on it. Okay. So let me do 2 breakout rooms. All right. And I'll see you guys in a little bit. Any questions before I put you in your rooms? Nope. Everyone have access to the link? Could you open it? Okay, great. All right. Welcome back, everyone. So I know in room 1, we had Kendall, Snigdha, and Michael. Who from that group will be the speaker, the presenter?
I'll be the presenter. Scared me for a sec because I was looking at the slide, and after we left the breakout room, like the little thing in the corner just went away. I was like, oh, did my iPad die? Okay. Oh, am I going right now?
Yep, you can go right now. Can you share your screen?
Share my screen. Can I do that? It says only the host can share.
Oh, let me fix that for you. My apologies. All right, the setting has been changed.
Okay, and just like go on the slides.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay.
and present.
Okay, sorry, hold on. Okay, so I'm sure not everyone here is a morning person, and that's so understandable. So here are some tips to help improve your morning routine. Step 1. In the morning, your brain isn't fully there, so it's more important to manage your energy instead of managing your time, so you're not trying to rush or anything, and it's just a more calm environment for your brain in the morning. Step 2, prepare the night before. As I've said, your brain is not fully there, obviously. We all get that morning sludge. So it's better to prepare everything you need for the night before so that you're less stressed in the morning and, it's just smooth sailing. Number 3, don't open emails until noon. I know for like the workaholics, this might be a little tricky, but it is so good and so like refreshing for yourself to not have to worry about any of that in the morning. So it's best to leave that for your brain and everything. It's best to leave the emails until like around noontime. Number 4, turn off your phone. Again, for the workaholics, this might be a little bit tricky, but your brain is not fully there in the morning, as I've said plenty of times. So it is best to give your mornings fully to yourself and to just engage in within yourself so that you are really prepared and energized for the rest of your day. Number 5, work in a cool place. Working in a cool environment is actually like scientifically shown to better your strategies and like your working ethics. Is actually scientifically proven that it can help you out instead of being in a warm environment, especially for people who get hot a lot. So working in a cool place can definitely help you out. Thank you so much for listening to this TED Talk. I really hope that your mornings can get better after seeing this and that this helped you out and that everybody has a nice and calm, easy breezy, beautiful morning. Let's stop this.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, typically, when you all do your presentations, there's feedback. So I'm interested to hear from Kendall's group. Did you have any feedback? Just those who are in room 1 for Kendall?
I liked the presentation that she did. I mean, it was simple and sweet. She got to the point and it was done. She didn't repeat. I mean, she repeated a little bit, but that's okay because it was kind of necessary for the presentation, I think. Um, yeah, I like the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. All right. For the sake of time, we're going to move to room 2. So that was Excel, Catherine, Layla, and Milena. Who is your speaker?
I am sorry.
No, no problem. Catherine, can you share your screen?
Sure. Give me a second. Gotta make sure that everything's alright. Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. Take your time.
Okay. Is it working? It's working, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Alright. So we've all been through the morning, and I think office workers and students can agree with me like that the morning is the most difficult time of the day. It is the time when you are at your most vulnerable and also at your grumpiest, your grouchiest. I don't think I've ever met an individual or in the case that you might be the rare few, you might want to take something away from this and, you know, find your mojo here. How to improve your morning routine. There are many ways that you can improve your morning routine, and one of them can be managing your energy and not your time. Now, what does this mean? Managing your energy means like maintaining your focus on your goal. Like maintaining your energy, we mean that you are focusing on your objective, whether it be get up from bed, go make yourself a bowl of cereal, get a workout in, manage like focus on that thing and do not focus on your stressor, which could be the time. This can lead me to my next point, which would be prepare the night before. Now, I know that it may seem extra and you don't have to go as far as arranging your clothes on your bed before you get up in the morning, but more so setting your alarm, like taking care of yourself before you go to the next day and acknowledging like your stressors and just being like just responsibly caring for yourself before you wake up the next day. And your third one is don't open your email until the afternoon. Now, students, this is going to be a really, really, really easy one, but for a lot of other ones, this might not be so easy. I am unfortunately guilty of this. And, however, you will find that this will alleviate a lot of pressure on you. And more so, it will give you your time and your energy to come back to you so you can focus on what should be more important to you, which could be being in the present moment, paying attention to yourself, knowing what's going to happen next. And the fourth one is turning your phone off. Your phone is a huge, demanding distraction for you. I cannot stress this enough. Your phone is like social media, text messages, calls. Those things are not very urgent, and that should not be your first priority in the morning unless it truly is something that needs your attention. And your fifth one is to work in a cool place. Our bodies are really, really, I don't know. I'm sorry. Work in a cool place. Now, working in a cool place will help you adjust rightly so that you're conscious of your surroundings. And that is how to get your mojo. This helps.
Excellent. Catherine, you were cutting out a little bit, but I think you're done. Were you done?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't
No,
know how
no
to stop
problem.
presenting.
Oh, I'm not, you're on your phone, right? Maybe Kendall. Kendall, how did you stop presenting?
Oh,
There should be a
here,
stop
I'll try.
sharing
There's like,
button.
yeah, like if you have an iPhone, you can press like the where the time is. It should be like
I don't have an iPhone. I'm on Android.
okay.
Uh-oh.
Let me see if I can
Wait.
actually.
Oh, wait.
Here, I think I can help you
Oh,
out
thank
there.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
My bad.
No problem. Anyone want to share feedback with Catherine as we're wrapping up? All right. Well, Catherine, I will definitely say that you were very detailed. You were very thorough in your explanation. So I think that's valuable. I would just say be mindful of the time spent going over each item and being concise. But I do appreciate that you were very detailed. I definitely understood what you meant by mojo and energy and all the things. So great job, great job. So that's just a way for you all to practice. Easy topic. Um, okay, so Milena was saying some repeating in there. Yeah, and then the filler words. I heard that with the so with Kendall as well, which takes a lot of practice. To pause on the filler words. So continue to look in the mirror, record yourself. It will get easier. All right, so we are at the conclusion of our class. I have shared the Mentimeter link in the chat. Go ahead and click on that. We're going to do our assessment. I see 2 folks are already in there. So go ahead and get in. We got 3 folks. So I would love to see all 7 of you in there. All right, we're waiting on 1 more maybe, or maybe not. Actually, I think we have everyone. Okay. Oop, did it skip a question? Oh, here we go. All right, what is the primary purpose of instructional writing? So this is a combo exam assessment for the business writing class and tonight's class. Because Miss Rosie did the Cahoots with you, we're just doing those 2 classes. All right. To provide step-by-step guide. Correct. Choose the correct example that matches persuasive writing. All right. Great job, everyone. If you wanted to convince someone to join a new environmental club at school, which writing style would you use? Persuasive. Yes, the green check mark does not show because it's on a green background. All right. Halfway mark. What type of business writing would be best for creating a company annual report? Informational. Active listening is a communication skill. True or false? You all answer that one very quickly. Good job. All right. What type of brand language would Apple products be considered? Connectable, right? That I, connectable. What is communication? The act of sharing information from one person to another. All right, last question. Developing soft skills can improve your communication skills. True or false? That is true. All right. Congratulations, Milena.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you all for participating in that. I'm only going to share one more link with you, and that is our survey for tonight. I just want to say how much fun I had with you all tonight. I love teaching this class. I love engaging with you all. I appreciate your attentiveness and your thoughtfulness. Just remember for your presentations as you begin to work on them, they are due next Tuesday. So there are two things we need, your resume and your presentation. Okay, so you're going to submit your resume by 6 p.m. and your presentation by 6 p.m. and then you're going to present at 6:30 on Tuesday. So you've been receiving that attachment in your reminder email per class with the details of what we're looking for in your project. So we're not looking for a ton of slides, right? 3 to 5 slides. We want to hear the inflection in your tone. We want to minimize those filler words. We want a strong opening. We want you to tell your story, share your why, share your objective, tell us about your business, tell us your call to action. What do you want us as your audience to do? And then close us out really strong with amazing, uncluttered slides. All right. So if you have any questions, I'm here. But once you fill out the survey, go ahead and drop a D in the chat, and then you are welcome to exit tonight's call. Thank you all for being here. Awesome. Thanks, Nikta. Thanks, Kendall.
Bye.
Bye. See you Tuesday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Miss Tiana. Happy
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Take care.
Bye, Michael. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Melena. Bye, Catherine. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next Tuesday.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. See you next Tuesday.
Thanks, you too. See you next Tuesday. Excel, you all set?